We're going to go through some of the nuts and bolts of what is marriage mediation, what is a marriage mediator, how does that look, a high level of the training time and the training aspects, and then Heidi will jump in and also talk about what does support look like after being certified as a mediator, some of the upcoming dates that we will have. So yeah, we're just, again, excited. Thank you for taking the time out to be a part of this and just, again, explore just if this is a right fit for you and God's leading. I think all of us have to have some level of a heart and passion for helping other couples. And a lot of times that's because of what the Lord has done, Heidi, in our own lives.
Absolutely.
And done and worked in us. And that gives us a heartbeat and a passion then to come alongside other couples in their journey of marriage. And all of us have seasons that are up and down. And so that's just part of the normal of relationships and married life. Yeah. We could probably share personal experiences, but we're not here to talk about our own selves and what our marriages have looked like. So what I want to do is just jump in. And so I want to make sure with notes, I want to talk a little bit about the certification training and the aspects of that. So first, I just want to talk about what is marriage mediation, and just one of our workbooks does it best, so I'm just going to read some of that. And so it's marriage mediation is an innovative approach to saving and restoring marriages. It's about teaching and training couples how to do marriage God's way because their way is not working. And so it's a hands-on, immersive experience of working with couples in their real-life issues through the intensive approach, which is 8 hours that we work with a couple. So it's the morning, is a certain way that we've developed it, and then the afternoon is that transformation that all of us in our marriage are wanting to experience so that we're aligned and walking in the same direction. So that's, it's based on biblical principles. That's the foundation of pointing couples' hearts back to the Lord. And again, His way of championing marriage. And again, I found when I align with God's way, Heidi, that it works really well.
A lot easier.
When I try to do it my way, just doesn't go very well.
No.
And so, because I get stuck in how I think the marriage should go, and that tends to fall apart at some point. And so that is what marriage mediation is in general. Is there anything you would add to that description?
I just think one of the most special things about the marriage mediation is that you're doing in 8 hours what a lot of couples don't have time to do over months and months of counseling. Mm-hmm. We love counseling. It's got its place. But for a lot of people today, they just don't have the time to spend weeks and months doing that. They're either in real pain and want help immediately, but that extended time is what really makes it different.
Yeah.
So I think that's, yeah.
And that's good. To add to that, I think Look at this. What we do with couples is looking through the front windshield of the car, not the rear view mirror. Yeah. So it's not getting into the past of, trauma or family systems. It's really, we don't ignore the issues. We just want to address the issues moving forward. And what can it look like moving forward? Yeah. So that we don't keep repeating the same cycle. And so the next part that we want to talk about is a marriage mediator versus, typically, I think when you hear the word mediation, our association goes to divorce or separation. Marriage mediators, we're advocating the restoration of the relationship and the healing journey that a couple can experience. And so you as a mediator coming alongside them to teach and train. So you're all about restoring the relationship, not helping them get divorced or move in a different direction. And so that's our heartbeat. We live in reality that not every marriage makes it for whatever reason and different reasons. But we've seen time and again where this intensive process, and the techniques that have been developed by our founder, Teresa Thomas, and then how we piggybacked off of that, how that just, it brings such transformation and change to a couple's lives. And so that is what marriage mediation is. And then a marriage mediator, you're really, again, just coming alongside them in the process of healing and restoration. I will again say, would you add anything?
I mean, for those that are here joining us today, I mean, one of the best things that I heard when I got excited about going through the certification was it's an actual way that you can be the hands and feet of Jesus. And so one of our founders, Pam, one of the things that she does is she's got her hand to God with the Bible and a hand here holding it out to the couple. So we're being used as a vessel. And that's really what God is using us for through this program, is being a vessel to really reach those hurting couples that just don't think there's anything that they can do to save their marriage. So that's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, definitely. And so now I want to talk about sort of a high level view of how we lead a couple through that process, or an individual who attends the certification training, and what that can look like. And so there's really 4 components that we are teaching and training you guys on, for those that want to participate in the certification process and are figuring out if that's a fit for you. Again, this is not treatment or therapy.
Nope.
It's teaching and training driven. One of the main principles that we operate on are that beliefs drive everything. And so that's the premise of sort of like what thinking you have, because that thinking will lead to a consequence. And so a quick example of that, if I get into conflict with my wife, Amy, and my thinking says she's my enemy and she's against me, what would be the consequence that would follow my thinking that she's my enemy? Versus in that same conflict, if I can choose to see her as my friend, what would be the consequence of me engaging in my thinking that she's my friend? There probably would be a very different outcome. So that just gives you a quick example of the premise with which we operate on. Then the next step is just really to connect the hearts of the couple back to each other. Because they're so distant and disconnected and separated relationally, we have a process that just for that first couple of hours of the intensive process of just how can we reconnect their hearts and at least get them back to neutral and going in the right direction. Then the next component, I would say, is the discovery component, which is discovering how in or out of alignment is their relationship by using strategic resources that Jimmy Evans developed, like the 4 Laws of Love, marital balance out of his Marriage on the Rocks series, marital strengths. So that all helps a couple discern and better understand, like, man, we're really out of alignment relationally. And that way it can build upon the 4th component, which is transformation, which instead of sinking and getting stuck in your issues, how do we think and get through the issue? Because there's a difference between talking about your issue and I think working through your issue. Absolutely. But we want to work through the issue with the right mindset and right thinking, because their way of thinking has not been working. And so our goal when you're in your training is to help you understand that process, which I think is very effective and strategic, but very simple. And I think simple is good. It doesn't get complicated. It really goes, again, from premise to connection to discovery to transformation. So anything you would include there?
And just as a side note, if you want to choose to go ahead and get certified, one of the best things is the tools that you'll be learning will be an amazing resource for your own marriage. I think all of us here on staff and part of the team, we use those tools in our own marriage. It helps keep us in alignment. And nobody's perfect, so we all get out of alignment. But when you have the tools to grab, it's so great to be able to transform your own marriage, transform others. I think one of my favorite parts of connection is our couples tend to come in and we have a couch. We purposely have a couch for them to sit on. And you've got the old, back to back, and they're separate on the couch. But after that connection section, you start to watch them move closer on the couch in that section. So it's really transformative.
And I'll try to use this with Amy, like the tools, and be like, what are you believing, Amy? And what are you thinking? And she'll shake her finger and be like, don't you start counseling me. It's like, I know what you're doing. And so I'm like, but the tools really work if we just use them. So it is fun to use them. I think I have to take off my counselor coach hat and put on my husband hat, and it works a lot better when I show up in that role. But
Well, and for my husband and I, he's actually a certified marriage mediator and on the primary team too. So it's harder for us to take our hats off. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic. But yeah.
And so that is part of the certification training. And so Heidi now is going to talk more about who could this training and certification be for. And so I'll let you take off with that.
Thank you. So who's sitting across from the screen now who's interested in doing this? Well, hopefully you have a heart and a passion, like you said, Brandon, for marriages, because you want to partner with an organization like XO Institute, where our mission is to increase marriage rate, decrease the divorce rate, and really make sure that children are being raised in two-parent families. And so if you're passionate about doing that, this training's for you. Maybe you're a lead pastor at a church. Maybe you are a pastor, a marriage pastor, or a family pastor, or you lead small groups at your church. You're a lay leader at your church, or maybe you're just part of a congregation and you're a marriage champion yourself. You've never gone through divorce and you've never had struggle, but you want to ensure that what God has done in your marriage, you can do for others. My story is like maybe so many of you out there. We actually stumbled on XO Marriage Resources, and that was part of our healing story in our own marriage and transformation. So my heart was like, I believe God healed us and then wanted to use what he had done in our marriage to help other marriages. So that's why I came here. And for a lot of you out there, you have had the same kind of transformation in your marriage, and God's now calling you to do the same thing for other couples. Now, that could be if you want to do for ministry. That's great.
Yeah.
But what about if you want to get trained and help people and make a business out of it?
Yeah. You could be a counselor.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
We also have people that go through our training who already have their marriage and family certification. They've gone and gotten their PhD, and they already do counseling, but they just want to add another certification and training to their tool belt, right? And look at it differently and use that differently. And then other people, coaching right now is a huge, there's a huge upswing in people wanting to go to coaches who have walked through similar stuff. So people are using the certification to start their own coaching business. And so those are just some of the options for people to do that. So you can see there might be a ministry track for you or a business track for you. And so those are kind of the people we're speaking to today.
Yeah. And so again, just whatever your interest is, if you're kicking the tires, if you're pretty certain God's already been putting that on your heart, but you just need the right certification or training, I think this is a great opportunity and tool to consider that God could be connecting you with the XO Institute. And, in those people who go through the certification training, they'll go back to their churches as a volunteer and just say, hey, if there are couples, I'm now resourced and certified in this. So you can be used as a liaison there, or also just in the business aspect. Again, if you're a counselor, this is teaching and training, so it's a side thing again that Heidi said could equip you. So I think there's many different things of how people use it. And then, we'll go through all of that in the training then you'll start to see that a lot more clearly about how that all starts to connect the dots and put things together for you in that certification training.
And one thing I want to add, Brandon, to that is at your own church, if there's not a family pastor or a marriage pastor, and the weight of helping all of the marriages is on your lead pastor, they do not have the time and energy to devote to a marriage, especially for 8 hours. They're seeing them maybe weekly or monthly, and they're overwhelmed. So they need the help. They appreciate people inside of their congregation getting trained so that you can help take up that slack for them. And so I think that's also important to know. So if you're thinking about it and your pastor's not on this this event here today, you could absolutely go to them and talk to them. And if you need help explaining this to your pastor, we'd be glad to help you do that too.
And we've had many couples and individuals who have come through that the pastor sent them to be certified. And, so that's happened many times. It doesn't have to just be someone on staff that would participate and do that through a church entity. I do want to get into a little bit now of what the training includes. So if you are led to sign up and to pursue this is what that would look like. Once you register, You would get an email that just welcomes you, talks to you about the certification. There's pre-work because we want you to walk through what an actual couple walks through preparing for their marriage intensive. And so you would go through a very similar process. It would include like doing, again, some prerequisite. It's up to 56 hours of just videos/actual work that you would do. And then you would also do a 4-hour practicum. You would be assigned with one of our primary mediators, and they would walk you through an abbreviated intensive so that you start to see yourself in the role of a mediator, but also you can experience it as a individual or couple walking through that. And then the actual training here in person at XO Center is 20 hours. It starts on a Wednesday evening, and then it goes through Friday afternoon or early evening. And so that's about 20 hours of training that we're actually teaching you the why it's set up this way, and then we're teaching you how to come alongside your couple to walk them through an intensive. And so that's an immersive experience where we're doing interactive training and tools where you're actually then turning around and utilizing what you were just taught in previous sessions. And so there's distance learning. There's also post work. We also have live mediations that were recorded previously that you can watch, because that all helps you get an understanding and familiarity once you are registered and ready to go in becoming a certified marriage mediator. And so at the end of the live in-person 20-hour, you're a certified marriage mediator. And so you're ready to go however God uses you in that process, whether, again, it's through your church or a side business. You know, obviously it takes time to develop and grow into that. I would say you and I weren't just like, poof, ready to go.
Sprinkle the fairy dust.
Each person learns differently, their capacity, how they then, after the training, absorb that and use it just looks different. We have had some in-house team members that, they were ready to go after 3 months, and others it took up to a year to get comfortable with the process before they started engaging with couples. So again, it's just based on on personality, on capacity, what else is going on in your life. So,
the training is so fun because first of all, you're at the XO Institute building, which is beautiful, and we have our own little XO press, so you can have coffee. We have great food that we serve, but just building a community of people who are like-minded with you and to go through training with them. And if you choose to come with your spouse, I know for me and my spouse, it was just amazing to have something that we could do together to serve God. And the training, listen, my number one strength is learner, and I love to learn, and there's lots of learning involved, and you can take it at your own pace, go as fast as you want. Well, other than the 2.5 days, my husband likes to say it's like a fire hose getting opened on you, but it's just so much great information. So it's a great experience, And
our goal is to help it make as much sense as possible, in the sense of very strategic step-by-step in the way that we have developed the training and then walk you through it, so that at the end of that, when you are certified, you at least have that good sense and understanding. But I would say I learn the best when I actually start doing it. Beyond the concept of that training and certification. So I want to, though, talk about next that Heidi will engage in our XO network, which is after you are certified, what does it look like to continue to be supported and engaged, so that we're not just throwing you out there and saying, hey, good luck, I hope it works out for you.
High five.
Yeah. So Heidi, why don't you share a little bit about the network and what that looks like?
Yeah, well, I'm very passionate about the network because for me, it's a place where I can go with, again, a community is being built. We've built the network on 4 pillars: resources, training, community, and kind of support or help. And so within those 4 pillars, we have a network of trainers that want to make sure you're getting ongoing training. You're not just stuck where you're at and stale. You have a community of people who want to work with you. So we have monthly training calls via Zoom, and those training calls are then resourced in our resource library. Marriage on the Rocks certification, our XO videos are now there. You also, as part of the network, get discounts to any of the resources that we have, events that we hold here in person, or any of the services that we have. So one of the things that we're working on now is creating master classes and additional certifications within the network so that if you're one of those achievers and you're done and you want to keep adding to it, we're going to be adding to your knowledge. And we have community events that are inside. We have 4 a year that for community building virtually, where you will learn from other mediators. What's working for you? What are you doing in your business? What are you doing at your church? How is it working? And then we'll also be having one yearly event where you can come and learn some amazing additional learning.
Almost like continuing education.
Here, but again, it's going to be some fun. We're going to have some fun. It's not just going to be all learning. We want to make sure you guys come.
Learning can be fun, right?
Well, for me it can, but that's because I'm a learner for sure. And our goal is just to really continue to equip you and help you grow. But where else can you go to talk to somebody about, like, if you ask somebody, hey, have you heard about marriage intensives or mediation? They might shake their head and think divorce mediation. So having a group of people who are having the same struggles, they're learning the same thing you are. They've got, tips and tricks. All of those things are housed in the network, and it's continuing to grow. And one of the things that we'll be doing shortly here is also, as a certified marriage mediator, when you have some of the things under your belt and meet some requirements, you will then be able to be listed as a referral option and be visible on our website. And that's going to continue to grow and change. And so really the network is just a place to grow and continue to learn.
Yeah, no, and I think that's so important that there's some groundwork and landing for you after the certification, because we all want to grow and develop in like the master classes. We are in the midst of just the first year of our pre-marital workshop and training, that would become a master class dealing with what we call the 3 A's, which is addiction, abuse, or an affair. Like doing a master class on what happens when you run into those situations, or the couple is stabilized, but there was an addiction that they had to navigate and work through, but you still have to learn how's the marriage navigate through that and stay connected and work through those situations. So those are all areas that we want to further equip and develop you guys through the network, and that's why that network is so important to be a part of. So
absolutely. Exciting stuff. Okay, so one of the things we get asked a lot is, well, first of all, where is the training? Well, we said it's at EXO Institute, but many of you might not know where that is. So we are in the beautiful suburbs of South Lake, Texas, which is about 15 minutes from the DFW airport.
In Dallas-Fort Worth.
So it's...
We're throwing a lot of acronyms just to make sure that's Dallas-Fort Worth.
Yeah, so. DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth. And if you're coming to August, you will have the balmy summer here to experience.
It's beautiful.
It's just beautiful. So that's where that is here. What's another question we have? Oh, how about this, Brandon? What's included in my registration? What do I get when I register? So
what you get with your registration is the materials that you need for accessing the online portal or the learning portal, the prerequisites. That's part of your registration. What's part of your registration is in the live training. When you come, that it includes like your workbooks, materials that you'll need for the actual live training, as well as meals provided during the actual training. So those are included in that. What's not included, Heidi?
Oh, what's not included is childcare. So unfortunately, if you have cute little ones.
We have had a few ask.
Had a few ask. Make sure you arrange for them to be watched at home by a loved one, a grandparent. I know us grandparents love to do that. But what's not included is your airfare, your travel expenses to get here, or your stay if you have to stay. We do partner with the Westin, which is literally just
100 yards.
100 yards from our front door. So if you're interested in that, when you do register, we will send you the corporate code that will get you a discount for that. But within about 3 miles, there's a million hotels and great restaurants and lots of shopping.
Yes,
so lots of good shopping.
That's what helps you after an intense day of studying. Shopping can help you like alleviate that intense.
Or for me, food.
There's many things that.
So we should choose healthy choice.
So just to let you know, like I think you're going to talk about this a little bit more. Our next certification is August 13th through the 15th. So it starts at 7 p.m. This is all Central Time. On Wednesday evening, goes for a couple of hours. That's our launch. We start to get into some of the foundation of the mediation certification. And then Thursday, it goes from pretty much 8 to 5 each day. And then we're done around 5 p.m. on Friday evening. So if that helps you, just some people are very logistical, like maybe you like to plan ahead, think ahead. And so if that helps you.
All right. So the first challenge, I believe, is who do I do a mediation with?
Okay.
Where do I find people that are hurting marriages? Mm-hmm. And so the first thing is, are you a small group leader? Do you have friends? Your first couple practice mediations, you don't want to find a couple who is in severe crisis. Let's find our friends.
Maybe they're hitting a speed bump or two.
A speed bump, yeah. Like it's like, yeah, we can't seem to agree on this issue.
Yeah.
So that's often the first thing is, and how, if I get certified with my husband, how do we do it together?
Yeah.
That just takes practice. We would be definitely covering that in this session.
And I think another one that comes to mind is like, how do I start to set this whole thing up?
Yeah.
For whether you're doing it for a business, through your church. So again, that's where the network is very helpful. We will high level discuss that in the live training. We're available to ask specific questions, one-on-one during the training. But after that is really like, how do we set all this up from website to marketing to who's our target audience, how much do we charge, things of that nature. So all of that will come after. And so I think that's a big thing for new mediators, trying to walk through that process and figure those things out.
I think one of the other things I hear a lot is confidence. How do I have the confidence to know that I'm not going to mess this person's marriage up or lead them out the door to divorce? Brandon, I don't know if you want to hold up our book, but the marriage certification training will equip you. You can actually leave the certification with this manual, and literally you can walk a couple right through this. You will actually be able to lead a mediation when you leave. It might not feel comfortable. What I always like to say is, how would they know if you messed up?
Yeah, this really is your guide step by step. We have had initial certified mediators. I mean, just read it out loud, step by step, just page, next page, next page. And then as you get more familiar and comfortable, then you can sort of hit your own stride in how to teach it. If you teach it as a couple, sometimes those are questions like, how do you know who sort of teaches what? I do it individually. So my wife has gone through the certification, but just in this season of life, it doesn't make sense for us to pair up to do that. But for you and Kenny, like you guys have, you can tell your setup of as a couple. What does that look like?
Well, I think it would look different for every couple because everybody has different strengths. In our relationship, I'm more of the teacher, and we like to call Kenny the sweeper. He's really the one watching the couple's expressions, their body language. He's getting the Holy Spirit's kind of downloading with him. And I feel those things too, but because I'm busy teaching, he can concentrate on those things. And so he asks the questions and the follow-up questions that are in the workbook. And then when we get to the tool, the Think tool, we kind of tag team that. But again, that's really going to depend. Maybe you have two teachers, and so you could do it section by section.
Yeah.
Maybe you can do it, we talked about the premise and the connection and alignment and transformation. You could split those up. You'll have time to practice in session
and
here at the training.
And you'll figure that out.
And you figure it out. I mean, Kenny and I still to this day, we'll do a couple and I'll go, well, that didn't land well. I'm sure they didn't know, but like for us as teaching, I'm like, I think maybe next time you do this. And he'll say, great, I'll take that on. So it's just, you're always learning and moving. And yet another great reason to be in the network is because, this is kinds of stuff that you work through in the network and learn.
Yeah.
Okay, so we do have another question, and I officially have a mic now, so you do not have to repeat it.
Okay, good.
But this question came in from Josh. It said, you were describing 4 components. I heard 1, beliefs drive everything. 2, discovering alignment. What was the third I heard? And 4, transformation. So just a little bit of insight on that third component.
Yeah. So, and I might have shared it in the wrong order. Between the premise, which is beliefs drive everything, and discovery is connection. So it goes premise, connection, discovery, which is alignment, and then transformation. And so connection is a strategic process, again, that we've developed of a couple writing letters to each other and answering specific questions, because that helps them start to get an understanding of their thinking and thought process better. And these questions, it gives us as mediators and coaches the better understanding of what their beliefs are. Because again, they're coming in pretty negative thinking.
Yeah.
It's not like we're excited to be married right now. It's
Most
more,
couples not.
yeah, like struggling, question. I mean, some are at the point where can we move forward? And I've had many couples say, if our marriage continues the way it is, I'm all done. But if I can get a different vision and hope for what it could look like, I'm all in and I'm willing to fight for that new relationship and marriage. So hopefully that answers the question of, again, premise, beliefs, connection, then alignment, which is discovery, and then transformation.
Yeah.
Great. So we have another question from Steve. This question asked, can you give me a brief overview of the mediation process? You mentioned 8 hours. Is it just a single session with the person or couple requesting mediation?
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Well,
I'll
yeah.
let you answer.
So your mediation starts with the couple before they actually come to the place where you're doing your marriage intensive. You would have to discern if they're a good fit for that, because not everybody is in the right place in their marriage to actually meet with you and have your marriage intensive. And just like if you sign up for the training, we send them some prerequisites, because we like to say the healing starts before they're in your office. So we tend to give them a couple weeks to work on some videos to watch. They have to write that letter. They take a quiz to find out their strengths. And then they meet in your office or the place where you're holding your intensive for the 8 hours. It is a full day with a few breaks here and there. You have a comfortable environment for them to do it. And yes, there is a prescribed flow to the session. Now, obviously, we allow for the Holy Spirit to come in and move, but it's been developed in a specific order because it works that way. And so you do spend the full 8 hours with that couple, and then you would send them on their way. And it's up to you how you want to do that, but a lot of us have follow-up sessions with clients. You might have a second day with them and another full 8-hour day, so you're doing 16 hours with them. And this is all stuff you would learn in the training on how to do this and when it would be right for you. We always certify you in the one day, because that is a powerful tool in itself.
And we've had couples come back 6 months later, a year later, to do another half day, 1 day, to work through other issues that, because sometimes all of us, when we're in struggle, it's so personal to us. It's great to have a third party who is neutral, which I think we are, to see it differently, because I'm not for one spouse or the other. I'm for the couple to win.
Yes.
And so I tell them that from the beginning. I want your marriage to win. I'm not here to choose sides, to pick percentages. It's either the ship stays afloat with us or it sinks with us.
Yeah.
So I'm really trying to develop with the couple a team mindset. Even in your struggles, we're still a team. And how we talk as a team is very important.
Yeah.
So
I hope that answered the question kind of about what the process would look like.
Amazing. Well, this question came in from Deborah. I did marriage counseling and prep for the last 10 plus years. My husband has since passed away. My church desires I still continue. Is this just for couples?
it is not. We've had, now I would say majority of those who come through are couples, but we've had several individuals come through, whether they, again, were licensed counselors or just an individual because they have a heart for it, but their spouse, because of work or something like that, or just different dynamics, just one person will come through and get certified and trained, and because that's their specific, unique heart and passion to help a marriage. So it doesn't always have to be through a couple. Yeah. And I would even say it works best only if you're a couple doing this. If I sense, so again, I do it individually, but let's say I sense that this couple could really use a female coach perspective in that, I could say invite Heidi in and say, hey, would you tag team with me in this intensive with this couple? Or they've requested it, or I sense that is needed. So it can go both ways.
This question came from Cherie. Have there been any legal problems with those going through mediation that attempt to legally accuse or reject the mediator?
No. So one of the great things about getting your certification in mediation is that we teach you the language you should and should not use, either on your website or in your forms, inside of your session. And we are legally bound different than, let's say, a regular counselor and a therapist. The certification for mediation covers you in a safety net so that, again, you're not really keeping notes, and we would, again, teach you all of this stuff, but those things cannot be subpoenaed in a court of law. So
we're not doing diagnosis.
Yes, so
even if you're a licensed therapist, that's where you'd have to take off your therapist hat and put on your mediator hat, because it's a different process of, how that looks. So there are those protections that as a certified mediator in that actual term, that if a couple, so let me say, in the 14 years I've done this, I've had, say a couple decides to get divorced after that they will say, can you write up a document of what that time looked like? Not my opinions or what I think about the couple, but just what did that process look like? So that has happened in the thousands of couples I've worked with, maybe a handful of times.
Yeah.
But otherwise, they don't tend to get frustrated with the mediator. I think it's more, the two of them are just, it's so personal and offensive and just what they're walking through, that it more deals with them than the mediator.
And I think an important thing, Brandon, to add to that is, remember, you're a mediator. You're there to teach and equip, not diagnose and treat. And so if you stay in that lane, you're safe.
Yes.
Because we're just teaching biblical principles.
To keep it simple. That's a great way to describe it.
Perfect. Well, we have another question that came in from Joel. Can candidates complete the remote training and then go to an on-site session when they have opportunity? My wife and I can probably complete the remote portions easily, but we won't have travel availability until 2026.
So we do have certification trainings throughout the year. In 2026, we already have an April date. We'll show this at the very end. So yes, you could do that. You could sign up, start the remote training, and then choose to come to the in-person. In 26, we will have 3 MCT, which is mediator certification trainings in 26. So we'll have one in the spring, one in late summer, and one in the fall. So
the thing is, you have to actually
be here in person for the 20 hours.
You have to be here in person to get certified. That is the legalities of it, is we have to have you in person. But we have 2026 dates coming really soon, and we will show those at the end. So that would totally take care of what he needs.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, we are going to take 3 more questions. So this is one of 3 for our finals. This came in from Kelly. Is there a way to see some examples of the content? Curious as to the methodology. For example, is emotional healing of past traumas a consideration or addressed? Could we see an outline of the manual?
So the outline is really the 4 components. That's probably the best that I can describe it. We focus on beliefs, not on feelings or emotional healing. So if there's someone who is in the midst of trauma that never got healed or addressed, we would send them or request that they go to individual counseling, because it would just hijack the process of the intensive time. And so we would say it's good to go get the healing you need to, so when you come together, your trauma doesn't hijack what the marriage needs to move forward and see transformation. Now, I will say in the intensive process, God is highlighting self-work that needs to happen and us work that you can do together. Yeah. I'd say self-work is more the attitude of the heart. And us work are the tools that we have gained to learn how to navigate and talk through those issues so that we see a breakthrough and not a breakdown.
Yeah. I think it's just important to reiterate, it's a cognitive-based program. So that's why we talk about those 3 A's. If there's an active addiction, active abuse, or active affair, that trauma will trump what's happening in the session, and you won't be there. And so
it doesn't mean it can't have happened in the past.
In the past, because
there's always residue from something like that, but it's just not dominant in the relationship.
And even trauma. We've had lots of clients who have experienced trauma in early childhood, and they've either walked through it or they're currently walking through it. And these tools actually are a great, safe way to help you express some of that stuff with your spouse. So the training will help you walk through some addiction or affair stuff that has left trauma in the marriage. It's a great, safe tool to walk alongside counseling.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We have another question from Steve. It says, you mentioned either a ministry or business setting. Do mediators charge a fee for the mediation? What is the common practice?
Yeah. So yes, we do charge a fee. Now, again, we're going to say it depends on where you live. So I actually live in Branson, Missouri. So I would say it's more of a rich, poor community, little middle class. So if I were to do that there, I would charge differently than what we charge here at the XO Institute for a one-day intensive. So part of that is doing research in your community of what's a sustainable cost. You know, some people have a heart and they just say, we just want to love on people and help them change. So we always say, it is good, though, for them to have some skin in the game and some investment. So even if they're paying for materials, you know, and you're charging $200 for the one day versus what, you know, could be $1,200. Again, it just depends on what your heart is. You know, is this actually income you're bringing in to help support your monthly bills and lifestyle? So
Here at XO Institute, we charge $1,550 for an 8-hour session for our marriage intensive. So you can use that to gauge, but that's what we charge, yeah.
Amazing. Okay. And this is a little bit of a long question.
Okay.
So lock in.
Okay.
This is a question from Candace. As it relates to a couple having a marital issue, for instance, they're working through adultery, how would a mediator step in and assist this couple? Does the certification model train and teach you how to navigate a couple through or how to come to a conclusion of whether or not to divorce? Sorry, I know this is a loaded question.
Yeah, so I'll answer. So I am only there to work with a couple to save their marriage. That's the only reason I do that. Do I live in the reality that couples will get divorced for whatever their reason is? Yes. You know, if they ask me my opinion on that, I will give it to them, but I don't give opinions on that. I am there to help them see that they could resolve this issue of an affair. You know, but ultimately that's up to them if they choose to move toward divorce or want to save the marriage. But I want to give them a vision and a hope for, hey, it could be restored. I'm not minimizing the reality of walking through that journey of an affair. I think for me, that's where I tend to have the most flexibility in the sense of if it has happened and it, you know, ended 2 months ago, maybe one of them is in current counseling. Because I still think couples need to learn how to talk through those issues.
Absolutely.
So what we do is, again, equip them to say, this is how you can talk through it, but we want you to talk through it without sinking and getting stuck in the issue, which is all, again, about renewing your mind. So if you keep believing the same thing, you're going to keep experiencing the same consequence. So let's invite God into the process to help renew the mind. And God, how do you want me to think or see this issue? Because I think it's so important to get God's perspective, because God's never at a loss with us. If an affair happened, he's not like, crud, I don't know what to do with this couple. And so a lot of that is, now again, there are different dynamics of, you know, was this a one-time affair? Has this been a repeated offense, you know, in this area? So there are different dynamics. There's not one size fits every issue or situation, but that's where I would say a third of the issues I've worked through with couples in the years I've done this are affairs, an emotional, physical, and or sexual affair. And so I've seen couples make it and God do dynamic work through our process. I've seen couples really struggle and fight, but I think a lot of it still comes back to, you know, I can't keep living in a negative belief and experience change and transformation and change.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think that's great.
Well, that wraps up our question time. Again, if you have any other questions, please email info@xomarriage.com and I will hand this back off to you, Brandon and Heidi.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for your questions. Yes. Great questions. I know there'll probably be a lot more, and that's where you can send those in.
Yep.
I think we do want to talk about what are next steps if you're considering this as a certification you want to pursue. So
our heart really is to see you at one of these mediation certification trainings. You've got some dates on your screen right now. Our next one is in August 13th through 15th. We have a few more days that you can register for that. So we'd be excited to see you there. Again, we have something coming up in November, and then again, our April date for 2026. So if you're just kind of deciding if this is the right fit for you, no matter what you do, we have a special discount for you. If you were here today, you get $500 off with this code. But you have to scan this code today. You can't just say, well, I'll think about it, and then call us up and want the code.
And scanning this code doesn't mean you're committed to anything. It just means as you're thinking about it,
you have it.
You can go back to that code. It allows you then to take the step toward registration.
Yeah, absolutely. So make sure you get that code. And again, if you have any questions, we also have payment plans. So it is $2,500 for an individual person, and it's $4,500 for a couple to go through. And then you can use that code
for $500 off either for the individual or the couple.
Okay, so $500 off for either of you. And then if you need a payment plan on top of that, if you want to go to April, that's great. We do not have any more payment plans available for August because there's just not time to do that, obviously. And payment plans for November would be shutting pretty soon too. So if you are interested in any of those dates, scan that QR code. If you have any questions, info@xomarriage.com, and we want to make sure that we get all those answered from you. And super excited that you guys are on the other side of the screen and thinking about taking this step forward to equip marriages.
Yes, and this is, our heart as we close here and finish up is we've had probably 250 people go through, whether couples or individuals, be certified. This is we're going into our 5th year and 26, I think, of certification. And so our goal is to get people across the nation. If you're on the West Coast, we'd love for you.
We'd love to see you.
Yes. We need more couples on the West Coast to go through this certification. And so that's a plug, just if you are. Yeah. So, but even across the world, there's a couple that is on our primary team, and they've done international, where they've gone to Denmark and done intensives there and Indonesia. And so you never know how God uses things and equips people. And so thank you guys so much for attending. We're grateful for your time. Again, go to xoinstitute.com. That also gives you other information on things like our vision retreat, premarital workshops, lunch and learn workshops. There is a page there on the MCP or MCT as well, as far as the certification training. So again, thank you. We pray you have a great rest of your day, and we'll hopefully see a few of you in the future.
Thank you.